Did I ever set up the text-to-speech here in the YouTube streams? I guess I did. That's one less thing.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Welcome to this week's Sublime Text Live. Hello, welcome. My goodness, it has been a while because there was not a live stream last week here on the YouTubes, for which I apologize. Something came up at the last minute. I agreed to help a friend here in my apartment complex with some stuff, and it turned out it didn't take nearly as long as I would have thought, but I'd already said that the stream wasn't going to happen. So I just spent a lot of time cleaning up my hard drive for all of the video projects that have been finished. I like to archive them and keep them off to the side because I work hard on these things, and maybe we want to put them somewhere else someday. Although they do mention YouTube quite a lot, rather. Hello, Dwayne. Welcome to the stream. Welcome. What we're going to be working on tonight is chatting with you guys, answering any questions that you might have about anything Sublime Text related, possibly fielding puppies growling under the desk because they maybe hear someone at the door, and looking through potential packages that might be interesting to us to do something with in the channel, which is based on the, pardon me for just 1 second, I got to click a button, I cannot find it. Here we go. I'm going to go blind. On the video that dropped on the channel today, there is a video series that we did previously in the year called, last year, called Package Parade, in which that just really is bright, man. Good gravy. That's only slightly less bright. There we go. Wherein there were various packages that people had asked questions about, and that some of the more popular packages, things like package control itself, package resource viewer, my override audit package, package dev, and the like. And that's sort of where we left that, because I got into doing more tutorially based stuff. Hello, Craig. Welcome to. Hope you're having a good Monday or Tuesday, depending on where you happen to be living. The package that I no longer recommend, hot take. Now, it's package resource viewer. At the time, it was a very useful package for things. Now, I would not recommend it because 50% of the functionality that it contains is built into Sublime, and the other 50% is something that can tangentially be useful. I would selfishly say that my own package is better for that one purpose than package resource viewer, but more importantly, it is mind-bogglingly easy with package resource viewer to damage your installation of Sublime Text by extracting package contents way more than you might expect. Hello, Ayush. A good example of that is various people you might have seen when Sublime Text 4 came out. They had a lot of problems where the enter key no longer worked in a variety of different places. There's a variety of other problems that people had that no one ran into through the whole of the Sublime Text 4 private beta, and it all came down to having a complete override of the default package. And it's very easy to accidentally pick the wrong item in package resource viewer and extract a whole package and thus lock it at a specific version when you didn't mean to do such a thing. So I would say that package should no longer, it's at least in its current state. I think it would be safe if it warned you about what it was going to do and made sure that you asked. My recommendation is if you do use it, the first thing you should do is use it on itself to remove its ability to do any of the stuff that's going to cause you problems. Hello, Ashwin. How you doing this evening? Oh, sorry, this morning. Oh my God. That is not the right thing. This is not Twitch, ladies and gentlemen. This is YouTube. I need to be looking at the appropriate window in order to see what's actively happening here. If you saw today's video, as I was saying previously, I have like 7 videos on packages that are popular and would recommend, although I don't recommend package resource viewer. But I think we should branch out in that. Now I know that we got to do LSP. That's probably a few videos. And one of the other ones that I was thinking of that I need to learn a little bit more about, which is what we're going to play with tonight, is Color Helper. But I put out the call for what packages do you think are cool, what would you like to see, and try to be specific, because I've had people say, hey, I'm a React programmer, how do I set up Sublime for that? And my answer to that is, I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not a React developer. So if you can say what it is you expect out of that support, that makes it a lot easier to grok than just saying. Do I have a YouTube video trail one can follow to go from zero to hero? I do not currently, no. That is also one of the things that I've been pondering doing. As a matter of fact, do I have the... No, I don't. The videos that I have on the channel... Historically, they were because I do a lot of work in the forum and the Discord and Stack Overflow, helping people that are having problems with Sublime. And those are usually people that are already familiar with using it and they're having a particular problem. So I started making videos here on the channel, I mentioned this before, specifically so that when someone had a problem, I could say, here's a 10,000 foot overview, watch this video, that'll tell you more information, which is why the original videos on the channel are in a series named Common Questions, because they were very commonly asked. And they're usually a little bit longer. They were more for reference purposes. But the channel took off. People were really love this. I love helping everybody in the Sublime Text community. So we just we kept on that trend, but they were really always predicated on the idea that someone was already familiar with Sublime and having particular issues, or of that ilk. But I do like the idea of zero to hero. What I'm not entirely sure about is what form that would take. Hello, Dev. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. We're just about to dive into trying to play with a package and track some stuff. That's right. That's the thing I was doing. If I do this, unfortunately, we go blind. There's no good way to do that, is there? No, there's not. That is very unfortunate. Oh, my goodness. How is... Oh, what's this? No, that's no good. That's not going to do anything. How is everybody doing this evening? Well, I hope. I really like Whimsical. It could really use a dark theme. My eyes, they are zapped. Good gravy. I'm not sure what a good idea. Oh, maybe we can just use Sublime for something like this, I suppose. And I can transcribe it into this later so that we don't blow our eyeballs out. That might be a plan. Let's create another tab over here. Exactly. I'm totally down. Citizen Townshend, hello, welcome. I'm totally down with creating. Now, if anybody has any suggestions for videos that they'd like to see on the channel, that's what these sort of live streams are for. Let me just do one of what was it? What was I trying to pull here? Shoot! Oh, I was trying to do this. Pardon me. Ooh, Arch Linux. Zoop zoop. Oh my goodness. Well, this video seems to be very well received at this point. We need to go for something like that. All right, so let's try yeah, here. Let's jump in, shall we? Sneakily, we have enough chat now that it's totally cool to jump to this particular scene. And there's will be stuff in the chat. This is something that I'm actually working on for a giveaway that we're going to be doing on the Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/odatnerd, linked down below, etc., etc. Last week on Friday, I believe, we hit the elusive 2 to the 10th followers, which is the Twitch version of subscribers on the channel. So I got 1,024 followers. So we're going to do a little bit of a giveaway in a couple of weeks' time. And we're going to do like sticker packs and the like. I couldn't decide exactly which stickers I'd like to put in there. So we come up with the ability to randomly pick from various selections what might actually be given away in a particular thing. Everybody probably gets 2 spins if you win. Details still to be coming, but you don't have to be a follower to win. So if you're interested in getting stickers with my face on them, or some other Twitch streamers that are part of my community, then you are welcome to join. But this is a package I was thinking of taking a peek at, because I was pondering creating a video for this one, and then I thought, I want to give this more in-depth. I want to have more thought into exactly how we want these videos to be laid out, and I want to have a bunch of them, because it's a lot easier to create videos of this variety talking about a particular topic if you record multiples of them all at the same time, for consistency reasons, if nothing else. So let's say we close whoops. Oh, this isn't a project. Oh, well, that makes that easy then. That could be an example of, 0 to hero. I don't have any videos on installing Sublime, but depending on what the problem is, there's one that talks about, coming to think of it, there's one that talks about the UI in general and what the different parts are actively for. We talk about the key binding system, the configuration system, the sidebar, how the file index works, how go to anything works. So to some degree, there kind of is video content on the channel. It's just not organized into one big list. So, maybe that's an example of something that could be done. But let's do something like this. Somebody asked about Jupyter notebooks. Notebooks, thank you. Just because I use Sublime doesn't mean I can type. If there's a one-click installation of plugins bundle, that would be great, and make all the configuration of plugins in one place. Just call bundle configuration, just blah, blah, blah. Actually, this crazy idea comes from the journey to install Scala-related plugins and configuration, such as, okay. Loading paths from environment variables into your settings. Do you have an example of a thing like that? I'm not sure if there's a package, but I'm sure we could come up with a plugin. I'm going to save those to do a thing. What I'm basically just doing here is XPath was the other one. Oh, and LSP is a thing. This one's not actually... There's actually... Is that spelled correctly? There's actually functionality in Sublime package control that will allow you to bulk install things. Loading paths from... Oh. So it needs to be something specific to a particular plugin? Or is it something that... Oh, command... Is that... have you submitted it to... I'll totally throw that in here. I assume you've submitted it to package control already, Ashwin? Ashwin created a plugin that sort of based loosely on this plugin that we may have seen in a recent video on the channel. Look, advanced install package, as a matter of fact, is the thing I was just talking about for bulk installing packages. This just allows you to see the plugin that is implementing a command and its arguments. Ashwin has extended it to the nth degree by having core commands and being able to view documentation and the like. Presumably, yeah, to add it to package control could take a little bit of time, but that is going to be some cool action indeed. Citizen Townsend, is the settings file that would have this path information in it specific to a package, or does it come out of your preferences? Because if it's specific to a package, the general idea of how you would do it is the same either way, but if it's something that's a settings file that's specific to a project, then it's a little bit more tricky to pull off. or at least not as straightforward as if it was something directly in your standard preferences. Well, I guess that's not entirely true. Good news, the soup is hot. I guess it really comes down to making the plugin smart enough to know. Yeah, let's take a look. I assume this one here. Path to the Pandoc library, or binary. So it has default oh, see, that's sort of a... I'm assuming at the very least something like this particular thing, for example. That looks like about the bulk of how that would work. Here, let's install it and see what happens. This is what this whole stream is about. Learning, playing. Well, let's add. I'm putting a question mark on that one because that's not something that someone has specifically requested as of yet. Let's see. That one. You will need a Pandoc executable for this module to work. You can configure the path to Pandoc in the settings key Pandoc path. I probably should have cloned that the other way, but, you know, what are we going to... let's see. This is a particularly old package, huh? Man, that could be a way to do that as well. If we wanted to make this be specific to an environment variable, then the package itself would need to be modified to know that it needs to capture the value that way, which is entirely doable. Is this Pandoc path the one that is it's the only thing that's path related in here? I guess not, huh? Do you need to know how to do... I assume that this part needs to have some action in it as well in order to make sure that it all works as expected. This is one of those situations where platform-specific settings would be handy. These are the template. This is what you mean, right? There's a little bit of a lag between when I say stuff here in the stream and when it goes out to you guys. So this would be very endemic to a lot of stuff. I'm guessing if I'm assuming this is like the PDF template and these are the arguments to execute the thing. So there would be a couple of those then. That makes that slightly more problematic, potentially. Well, I mean, one way to pull something like that off is to keep the settings in a Git repository and have a different branch for each thing, but that's not the greatest situation in the world. I think that's just for preferences. Only preferences can be that, and they won't load from the user package anyway, so that doesn't necessarily matter. Here, let's take a peek, if we shall, at this. Boop, boop, boop. Let's do that, and I will. Oh, this is the settings file we're looking at. Then one thing we're looking at is anything that. Oh, here let's save this, shall we? I guess I probably should have made that markdown, but whatevs. Okay, so that is the thing here. We'll put that over there as well. Whoops. Return the default settings merged with the user's settings. Wait, what is this doing? We may have just found a can o' worms. It loads the Pandoc settings. That's the ones from over there. Oh, I see. I see. There's a setting named default that contains all of that business. That's sort of a weird way to configure a thing. Then there would be user settings. Huh. I betcha. So I'm completely unfamiliar with this particular package. So let's actually read the comments that are in this thing, shall we? There are two possible top-level setting keys, user and default. If you use default in your user settings file, the default settings will be overwritten. But if you use user, your settings will be merged into the default settings. This is, I guess, kind of makes sense because you don't want to have to do absolutely everything yourself, right? But I think the issue here, Craig, is that you're on Windows, so your build calls a batch file, and the batch file could have an environment variable, but it sounds like Citizen Townshend is using across multiple platforms. In which case, I guess how would you set it up so that it's a batch file for Windows and a shell script for Linux and Mac OS is sort of the question there. Yeah. But pondering the idea, the only place that settings are loaded is here. It gets the default settings. It gets the user settings. If there are user settings, it merges them in. So it's grabbing all of the transformations. It's grabbing all of the markdown. This is actually possibly a fairly simple thing to do. The trick is how to test something like this, because I don't use Pandoc. But check it out. Thus. What the hell is the name of the... Do not use Python for this level of thing. Enough. Let's see. Environ. Whoops. OS Environ is a table where I can see why something like that would actually happen. I could sort of see why that's useful for something as complicated as these settings, because in the normal way that settings work, if these were the defaults and there wasn't this default key and there was just a pandoc path and a transforms and blah, blah, blah for all of this stuff, and you decided you wanted to have user-specific settings, you'd have to copy this entire thing to your file. Otherwise, it would overwrite the defaults. If you needed to have a list of transformations, then you'd have to copy all of them. So this idea of this is the default, you just put stuff into the user as you like. Let's compare as we dare for something like this. This is the regular settings, right? So if we said this was sublime.load settings pandoc.sublime settings, we get into a little bit of plugin type stuff here. That's the settings key, and we could say s.get. Let's see, what's the default would provide all of that stuff, right? Thusly. It really, this package seems like it's a Sublime Text 3 package. Do I still have that open in the thing here? Let's see. I mean, if this was last modified 2 years ago, and it's been around for 10 years. So it's one of those situations where if a thing works, then why necessarily, screw around with it? Let's say we do a little bit something like this. Preferences and package settings and pandoc and settings user, like this. That is so old that it doesn't have the appropriate stuff here. Whoops. There would be a key named user, right? And let's just grab a sample thing here. This is just for our own edification on what we could possibly do here. So we go like so. Yeah, I did think that was going to be unhappy. We need to close that one. Pardon me. Okay. So, again, if I do that, I get those settings. If I do user, then I get those settings. Are you using Sublime Text 4? The reason we did that is so that we could do something like this. Oh, shoot. I guess I should probably... yeah, that's like a lot of crap, bro. That's a lot of crap. Here, we'll use user. Here. Let's say that the settings file looked like this. Then if we ask for user, we see that the pandocs arguments says pandoc arguments that. I'm assuming Sublime dot expand variables and the variables, the value is at the front, which is going to be this. I'm pretty sure this is going to blow up in our face, but we'll worry about that in just a second. This is the general idea for what we want. Oh, look at that. With Sublime Text 4, it's even easier. So this was an environment variable, but now it has expanded out. So in theory, what we have to do is something like this. Pandoc.py is the file we're looking in. Okay, check it out. Peep what we got going on here. We go like that. We go like that. We say view package file, pandoc.py from the pandoc package, like this. We jump down roughly to line 269. Did I look in the wrong? Oh, pardon me. What the heck? Oh, I screwed some stuff around in there. Pardon me. Hey, check it out. The file that I have is different than the file that's packed. That's fun. Well, what you really have to do basically is, theoretically, something like this. We go up to the top of the, we right click on this file, choose override this resource. It already has OS in it. We go to line 239, which looks like this. And then we can say sublime.expand variables that and os.environ. And that's pretty much the whole of theoretically what needs to be patched in this to make this work. The downside is that this isn't part of the package per se. This would be an override that you create. But what this little function is doing is loading up the settings file, grabbing the default settings, getting the user settings, and then if there are user settings, taking them out of user and merging them into the similar named ones inside of the default settings. And then the default settings are returned back, and that's what's used for everything. So you get the settings from your defaults, plus you get anything that you added as user overriding on top of it, and everything else remains as the default. And all this is doing is saying, when you get the user settings, anything that has a $sign in it, expand it out as if it's an environment variable. Now, what that does mean, we'll probably do something like this. I'll quit this and restart so we can see that it actually does something. I'm not sure exactly at what point this gets called, mind you, so we probably need to check that too. This does mean that anywhere inside of any part of this setting that there's a $sign, you need to take special action on it. Otherwise, it'll be treated as a variable, which is probably not what you want. But let's do this. It is, you go away there, guy. It is invoked as part of this, which is right there. Wow, it does that every time? Oh, I see. It's just a convenience method. Phew. Okay, there we go. Oh, well, that probably needs to be a little bit more magic, doesn't it? Oh, no, it totally does that a bunch of times. That is an unfortunate turn of events. Well, that seems like it's doing a lot of work, but nevertheless, whenever pandoc command runs, that happens. So, we should be able to say, whoops, go away, guy. If I clear this console, u.run command pandoc. Oh, really? Really? So I have to remember what I put in the settings file now? Probably something like that, right? Couldn't find it on the path. I probably should have done that a little bit nicer. This is the settings file information that it loaded. And it expanded that out. So, yeah. This one line is what you want to add in here. And then that will do what you like. And you could, possibly submit that as a PR or as an issue if something like this would be useful. So, if you want to do something like what I did here and test it out to see if it works for you, then install package the override audit package, which is this one. We'll go right there and show you all the stuff. like so. By strange coincidence, this is a package that I have created. So, whoops, I just clicked the button. I probably didn't mean to. So, install that. And then what you can do is open the command palette and say create override like this, and then find pandoc, and then pick pandoc.py. This time it's not going to work for me because I've already done it. But the other thing that you could do is say view package file pandoc.py like that, and then right click in it and choose override this resource. Then come down to line 236 and stick this in this position. This replaces the line that used to be there. Looks like that. It replaces the line that was just settings.get for this one, and save the file, and that's it. As soon as you save it, it'll take effect. You probably need to quit and restart to make sure, although this is loading the settings every time anything asks for one, which is kind of weird based on how it's doing extra work, but not a ton of extra work, so it probably doesn't matter. And yeah, so anything in any of your settings file for pandoc, just to clarify this, if you were to do, we'll do, no. Look, I can't read. I don't know my alphabets. Absolutely any key key name or key value in here that has a $sign in it. Like if, no, I didn't even know. Is there even one in here as an example? No. Wow. If there was, then you need to put / in front of it, 2 backslashes, to tell Sublime this isn't a variable. Don't try to expand it. Otherwise, it'll expand out to nothing. But that should do exactly what you want, I would think. You still need to do this on every machine, but you really only need to do it one time. And the nice thing, this is one of the things that you could previously use Package Resource Viewer for. The downside to that, someone asked earlier, what package do I no longer recommend? It's Package Resource Viewer because it has an option in it that would try to extract the entire package, or even more disastrously, your whole package, which will give you way more overrides than you actively want that will cause you problems in the future. Override audit allows you to do this in a much more targeted way, and it'll warn you if this package ever gets updated by its author. It'll tell you, hey, you modified this file, but so did the package author. Maybe you want to come and take a look at this. As an elegant solution, a one-liner is not too shabby, I must say. Ow. And for the curious, what that did was create this folder named pandoc and put this file in it. As long as this file is here, Sublime will use this one instead of the one that is part of the actual package. I'm going to delete those manually, but there's functionality in the override audit that allows you to do the exact same thing as well. So I think now, yeah, we need to quit and restart in order for that to have any particular effect. But cool. Let me know if that works out for you and makes your life a little bit better in that regard. I do feel the pain on wanting stuff to be platform specific because I use Sublime over Windows, Mac OS. Well, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. I guess I'm pointing at my computers in the wrong order, but I have all three of them arranged in front of me in my little control center here. So having the ability to have things configurable in that way is entirely a goal of mine, which is why you might note if we look at the override audit settings, we get down to external diff tools. You can specify that there are different tools for different platforms because I use a different diff tool on Windows than I do on Linux, for example. That's just a sort of care that I take in my packages. But this one is quite old, so, you know. Let us, well, don't delete it. We can just remove it from the project there, thanks. And if I could type, let's remove the pandoc package. And does anybody else have any questions about stuff? Any sort of package? any sort of tweak such as that. I'm a developer. I love doing plugins for Sublime. As I've mentioned many a time, I very frequently will just create my own plugin without even bothering to look to see if there's a package that does the thing that I'm interested in doing, because implementing this stuff is fun, and figuring out the problem and how to solve it is one of the things that I enjoy as a pastime. I guess we should probably install it, huh? One question down. 1,000,000 T to go. This is a good time. Oop. Wow, that took longer than one might have expected. Color helper. This is the faceless user one, right? Color highlighter and color helper are two distinct things. Color helper is created by faceless user, who has a fair few packages in package control for a variety of reasons. We're going to restart Sublime just to make sure that everything is actively kosher. But it, I think has more functionality than the other thing does. So let's see if we went. Oh, hang on. Let's do that for a second. Well, that's not quite what I expected to happen, but all right. We want, let's say, I don't know. Do I have any colors in that thing? I don't know that I do. I guess something similar to this. And then I'll just grab this file and stick it over here for the time being. Inline docs. Yeah, I know, right? It's a whole thing all on its own. But I think it's probably one of those interesting situations wherein the way things appeared, the way people did stuff 10 years ago versus, patterns that have sort of emerged in code to now, makes these things sort of slightly, you sort of see the evolution of things. And that particular thing, the idea that a setting that in your user package completely overrides the same named thing in the default. So if you want to just tweak just a little bit of a default, then you have to do more work of copying everything, is seen even in core Sublime, when you might want to tweak the binary files pattern and you add something in your user package settings that say binary file patterns includes this type of file, but if you don't copy the defaults, now there's only one binary thing instead of all the ones that are defaulted plus yours, which is what you want to be able to configure that setting, but might not be what you expect, and then you end up making whatever problem you're trying to solve worse instead of better. We need to close a bunch of stuff. What could potentially have... Is there colors in this? There is kind of colors in that. We need this to be over here, though. No. Boy. Now this is some of the magic of the color helper package. As we can see here, what it did straight out of the box. I haven't configured this even slightly. I just installed it, and it's showing me exactly what colors each one of these specifications means, including this one that's an RGBA. It's black, but it has 80% translucency, and that's actively being visualized there as well. I believe we click on these phantoms to see a little bit more action, so you can see that color a little bit better. So that color is white. This color is cornflower blue. Well, you can save this to your favorite colors. There's a few different tools in here. You can save a palette, my goodness, and a color picker. Hey, hey. Well, let's say instead of cornflower blue, we want this color. how do we actually do something with, or actually this way darker one, for example. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't read any documentation on this, so this is why we're sort of playing with this. But it seemed like that might be something that I might want to. I'm not entirely sure how that's supposed to work in changing a particular color, unless it's copying something to the clipboard or something. Doesn't say that it is, though. Oh, I see. I can scroll this bad boy and pick select. Who is it that was complaining recently about non-obvious scroll bars? This one is one of my own doing, but nevertheless. Okay. So we can insert it. Oh, hey, check it out. In a variety of different formats, even. That's pretty cool. Say this is a RGB color. And there it is. And it's fixed. That's pretty handy. What else can we do here? Edit and mix. Oh. Format, color percent. Colors can be specified in any supported color space that could be converted and output to another color space with add color space. If two colors are provided, joined with plus, the colors will be mixed by interpolation. So if we did black plus 255, 255, 255. That's black. That's white. The blended color is gray. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool too. Let's add some more green into this. 128. Does that do something? No. Add just a little bit of green to cornflower blue to get the appropriate color. I guess we probably wanted that to have the alpha still, huh? It's converting it to two different types. Let's see. And it should be RGBA, I suppose. No. No go. Wonder how we add ourselves some alpha to this. This is actually a package that has been on my to-do list to play more in depth with for a period of time. If I did more web stuff, I'll tell you, if I had this while I was working on, I can't even remember what it was, but I was doing, in one of the Twitch streams, I was doing some web development stuff. I think we were working on the checkbox overlay for Valley Dweller, one of the Twitch friends that we have. And I was trying to come up with what colors I'd like to see in that. And what I was doing was going into the browser and using a tool there to see what color that I might actually want, like CSS color picker, for example. So I was probably doing something, this isn't exactly the thing, but going something like this, and then copying it and then coming back over to here and then blapping it in to the thing and saving it and then going back to say, how does that look? How does this look? How does that look? Until I found a bunch of things. But if I had the ability to say, I want this to be a little bit darker. I mean, clearly, if I was more familiar with this, it would probably work a little bit better, but I want this to be just a little bit darker than it currently is. Pick that one and insert it in. Now I have a different color, and I can just save and go back. And I wouldn't have to keep flipping back and forth between the browser here, the editor where I'm putting stuff, and then the tab that actually has this. So in that regard, I can totally see this being useful for those. That said, I don't do a ton of designing, and the reason I don't do a ton of designing is because I'm absolutely crap at picking colors for things. But I can also see if even that functionality aside, which is like a nice to have when you need it. I wouldn't need it very frequently, but being able to visualize colors like this, particularly when they're in this particular format, and know that that's what color that is, or that, I mean, orange, red, that's kind of easy to get. You know that it's an orangey red, but you don't know exactly what. So I can see, this would be more handy for me in general, because I'd probably be looking at something. Hey, which kind of reminds me, compare as we dare. Does it do colors inline? I assume probably. But see, this is the part where it seems like this would totally be slightly handier for me personally, because there are various things that, are not immediately obvious to me when it comes to knowing what colors are what. And since I tend to do all of my web dev stuff by, as you can see here, I found a template that I ended up purchasing, but I'm still attributing them anyway. It's a lot easier to visually see what these colors are without having to keep flipping back and forth between the page. And then again, this would be sort of one of those. I wonder. I mean, there's so much to talk about for this particular thing. Oh, we can change the contrast. Contrast how? Is the question here. Is this telling me the contrast? That could be handy as well. If the idea of this is showing me what color this looks like on a background. This definitely seems like something where we should be reading the documentation on this bad boy, Alphabet still works that way, does it? And I happen to know that he did create. Whoa, Roy G. Biv. Oh, it doesn't say that I'm streaming, does it? That is rough. I guess I should fix that. Hang on 1 second here. I forgot. Sometimes Discord keeps track. And sometimes it doesn't. It doesn't know what the hell it's doing. Not even a little bit. And it's kind of sad maker sometimes. There we go. Oh, thanks, Ashwin. Thanks for stopping by. Ooh, and looking forward to playing around with your package as well, which is probably something we could play with here at some point. Let's take a look at what this is. So what we're trying to pull here is there's a lot of functionality that any given package might have out of the box. But the trick is, how much do you cover in a video? Do we cover just the things that are cool? Do we try to cover absolutely everything? Because some packages are so jam-packed full of functionality that it would be rather long. I think that would be a disservice. I think you want to try to keep a video like this to 10 minutes No more than that. If that, maybe going over the core reason why you might want to use something like this and some of the cooler features or some of the more useful features, and then always say, go into the documentation. This would definitely be an example of that. Does the API support drag and drop targeting? If so, I don't see any docs. You can drag a file onto Sublime and it opens the file in a new tab. I want instead for it to do something in the current tab. That is not possible via the API, no. Dragging files will open the file, dragging a folder will open the folder, and that's more or less it. There are potential ways around a thing like that with plugins, as Ashwin's probably about to say. You can tell that a file is loaded by using a load event, and you could trigger one of those along with knowing which tab was active to cause it to do something in that regard, but there's not any good way to distinguish an event that represents a file being dropped and then loaded versus just being opened and loaded, which makes that sort of a fraught kind of thing depending on what your use case is. Unless Ashwin knows something magic about replacing a tab. But when it comes to that sort of stuff, that's not something that the API covers. No, mostly it deals with finding out information about files that are loaded, loading some yourself if you want to, and getting at the contents of them for a variety of reasons, or modifying the contents, of course, since this is a text editor after all. What sort of thing do you want to try to do with the current tab? Oh, I see. There's a user guide. When color previews are enabled. All right, so let's do a little bit of here. Color previews. Defaults to being on. That's one note of something we might want to discuss in a video like this. Did you use this, Ashwin? I created my documentation manual-like from HTML because I had very specific ideas of how I wanted stuff to look and be formatted. I wonder. I don't think a load event will trigger for an image. It might, but I'm not sure that it does. It says it's called when a file is finished loading, but it triggers on a view, and images don't have a view. So that may be fraught with peril in that regard. I don't think there's a new event for sheets loading. I could be wrong. Let's take a look. Hello, Ben. How you doing this morning, afternoon, evening? Good night. We are playing with packages. And Craig Jones is asking the hard questions about dragging and dropping images and having that do something in the current tab instead of doing something. I do not think that there is an event listener to tell you. My guess is that the onload event doesn't trigger for an image because it's not a view, it's a sheet. But I could be wrong. I frequently am. Just ask my wife. Boop, boop, boop. But, yeah. Give it a try, but I suspect that it's not going to do what you like. Assume you can drag and drop an image, though, right? I'm not a very big drag and drop kind of guy. That's not too shabby as a thing. There's also you can also use this new open dialog item to allow a person to grab an image and do something with it specifically. If you didn't want to drag and drop it, if you're not already doing that, that might be an alternate or extra way to do something like that. I guess the easiest way to test something like that. Let's see. Packages. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so that definitely works here for us. So, will an onload event listener tell us when that happens? My guess is no. But you never know. It's safe to do something like that now. Let's see. Yeah, that did not have the desired effect. But if I went up one more folder, it knows about that one. So I don't think there's any good way to detect an image dropping in. I could be wrong, though. I haven't updated the documentation for Snappy as of yet. I would imagine that the gather images or doing the dialogue or both is probably as good as it could get at this point. At a guess, anyway. I'm not sure what a nice alternative to that would be. I think the only thing that comes immediately to mind is something that intermittently polls the window for images and does something with them. But in that case, you'd have to be very sure that that particular window was your project, because otherwise anytime any image ever opens, it would immediately try to do something with it, which is probably not entirely what you want. You want that to be a more targeted thing for good user experience, I would think. Oops. Let's take a look at the color helper settings. We can change the size of the color picker. I wonder, this might mean that this setting just stays here forever. Uh, someone is someone's telling me that I should be doing some stuff at the moment whilst I am busy streaming. We'll see what happens. No, that's cool. Oh. Gotta remember to close the Discord, otherwise I can't see the chat. All right. Oh, that's the offset. Color picture. Okay. Click access for one of these. Can move to the. We may need to play with that a little bit. Let's see. Supports palettes. How to use those. And someone forgot what day of the week it was, but we're cool. Oh, sorry. We were looking at settings first for this thing. Global palettes, favoriting colors is a thing. So say. You can favorite colors. What does this do? So what I'm actively working on here is this color package is got too many windows open. Is one of the packages that we're going to do some video content on, and my process for something like this is to decide, come up with the functionality that a particular package happens to have, and see what parts of that we should cover, what parts are okay to gloss over and just mention that they're there, but we don't necessarily need to show them, because there's a fair bit of this. For example, these are all settings where we could just say in the video, if you want to change how the color box is displayed, there are settings, read the documentation for that, because there are some things that don't necessarily, warrant inclusion in an initial video on a particular topic. But other things like the ability to change the color picker and palette picker by default are accessed by clicking an icon on the color info panel, but you can change that to a different thing. That might be something you want to play with, so we would probably demonstrate something like that. Palettes, that sounds like something that someone would want to use, so let's talk about that and favorites and how you actually use these things. Project palette. Hang on. They are also project specific. So this is sort of the fact-finding mission for video content behind the scenes, wherein we try to determine what we want to see, what we can leave out, or what would be in video part 2. Because there's entirely the possibility that there are some things that are cool enough and interesting enough that they could be talked about, but not necessarily in the initial video. It's all a weird balancing game for how to provide the best level of information for the overall group of people, and some people want more detail and some people want less. We want to fall somewhere in the sweet spot in the middle where you have the information that you need but you're not entirely overloaded. And then if you want extra information, there's another video for you. This is one of the problems that I've historically had on the channel, which I'm trying to rectify and have been for the last, I don't know, year or so. Videos are getting shorter and a little bit more succinct in that regard. Out of gamut colors. Sublime is not currently aware of gamut spaces in general. It treats all colors as generic RGB. That means color schemes. Yeah. This is something that is probably useful to the power user, but maybe not necessarily something that we need to worry about in the general case. All right, so here we go. Color info panel is the main panel that shows a large color preview, gives access to various tools such as conversions, access to a color picker. You can favorite colors and add them to your favorites or save them away in other palettes that can be accessed later. Faceless user put a lot of work into this. A lot of work. Some people prefer native color pickers. If you like to use your operating system's built-in color picker, see the Use OS color picker option. Yes, is there a setting for that? Will that work on Sublime? All right. Theory: if I have K color chooser, probably anybody with KDE has K color chooser also installed. You can use a native color picker. So stop trying to do that. Picker. Now that may or may not have worked all that great, huh? Because things are kind of hung now in an unfortunate way. I don't know that I can recommend using KChooser. Oh, I see. It's over here. Excuse me. In the meantime, that is sort of hung while we go. But, round about there. That's the color we want. I wonder how that's actually supposed to do something. Uh-oh. This is still not responsive. Oh, there it goes. Wow, that was... that was lengthy. Well, that is the color that I picked. Is it always that slow is the question. Okay, just double checking. I did click picker. It is. Ah, excellent. Citizen Townsend. That is cool. I hope that makes your life a whole lot easier. I don't know if that particular author is still updating that. Well, I mean, they haven't done anything with it in a couple of years. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's abandoned. It could just mean it does what they want. But it could potentially be worth triggering an issue and saying, hey, you know what would be cool? The ability to use environment variables. And it could be as easy as one line like this. see what they say. It really had this vague niggling in the back of my mind that somebody else has been working on something Pandoc related, but I have I'm not that great at remembering that sort of stuff. All right. Native color picker seems to be interminably slow, but it does work in theory. You saw me click the button, right? Well, that's weird. Let us turning this on seems quite slow under Linux using K color chooser. But then again, I don't run KDE, so maybe. This is one of those situations where I might do something like that seems to return rather quickly. So I'm not entirely sure why that seems to be not working all that grand. Still cool, right? That's still cool. Oh, maybe that was just sort of a... Maybe you need to restart after changing the setting, because it seems to work pretty good now. Oh, let's say... Oh, there's no... It's HSV and not HSL. That's unfortunate. Let's move it a little bit more to the right. Might just keep this on at all times for what little I work with colors. This seems like quite cool. By default, will not use the currently selected color. Oh yeah, that's something that I wanted to play with because I played with it briefly the other day and it was very confusing to me what it was actively doing. So let's do that and then say we get the color picker. Oh, we can do it by names. Hey, we want indigo. It finds it. Oh, right, I guess. So the magic is choose the color you're interested in, then pick select. And there we go. Okay, I think that is the... I wasn't seeing the bottom of the pop-up previously, and as a result, it was kind of confusing to me. So let's see. This part is kind of weird. The more red we get, does this do it a little bit? That one's going up by 2s and 3s. A little less green, a little more blue. And then go back to the box. Sort of see exactly what this is doing there. It's one of those situations that I am not super keen on something like that. What's this? We want color. Whoops. Lightness minus 10%. Yeah. that may or may not be doing what I expect it to be doing. HSL. That doesn't really seem like that would have that much of an effect on this thing, all things being equal. Let's go back to the documentation. Color channels are coarse, but can generally allow you to get close to a color that you like. As you select the colors in the channels, the selections will shift, revealing more selections until the bounds of the color channel are reached. A scrollable tooltip will appear. Let's give that a try. I don't remember seeing that. Oh. The weird thing is that this is showing me what I would expect to see, I think, and I don't think it would actively be helpful, is knowing what level of red this was, with 0 being black, 255 being all the way red with varying shades, and that's the color that you're adding in. But actively, what this is doing is saying if the red was 137, this is what the color would look like. And 137 over here as well. And then 137 on this one. And we end up with a grayscale color. It's the same across all of them. Maybe we actually want some alpha in here as well. That's also pretty cool to visualize the alpha that you're getting out of one of these things. I'm liking this thing. I'm not gonna lie. Alrighty. Choose. Uh-oh. Oh, that's just me. Choose colors by name as well. Something to think about there. Okay. Edit tool. This is the stuff that is probably super powerful. And how do we actually use this? So let's see. Nope. That's the wrong thing. This is an experimental feature, and syntax behavior is subject to change. Oh, right. The edit tool allows for editing and mixing by interpolation of colors. While editing, the panel will display a live preview. Press enter and the color will be returned to the document for inserting. Contrast. It's unclear what that is actively doing. Let's see. Contrast. It says it's returned to the document. Does this actually do anything different? No. Okay, both of those are actually the same color. So if we picked tools and we picked contrast, I think this is just for showing you what the contrast is between two colors. You can see the relative luminance. I don't think it actively does anything. I think the idea of this, oh, that's interesting, is that if we wanted this to be on gray, we might decide that's a little bit too dark. So we might, add some to these values to try to lighten it up. And if that's what we did, then it would actively be different. But otherwise, no. That seems not too shabby. Did that actively do what I thought it did? Yeah. Yeah, it did. Okay. Let's try the other one. We need this color. Tools, edit and mix. Format, color plus color. So if two colors are provided joined with plus, the colors will be mixed by interpolation. All right, so let's double check this here, operation. So we'd say if this was, say, FFF, and the tool was edit and mix. That's cornflower blue. That's 50% mix of those. What did it specify there? Colors are mixed at 50% unless percents are defined. If percents are defined, they must add up to 100. If they do not, they are normalized. If only a single percent is defined, the other color will use 1 minus 100. So if I did 90%, it's mostly blue. Now it's mostly white. By default, it's 50-50 blend. Interactively blend two colors together. That sounds like a fun feature that someone would probably enjoy. And one more. Color contrast allows for viewing a color's contrast ratio or quickly adjusting. So it's viewing or adjusting. Oh wait, Oh, wait a minute. I did not try that. Tools, contrast. That is the color contrast for that. That's the color contrast for white by default. Let's see. How does this ratio work? How does it show up here? Let's see. Okay, that makes the color change entirely. Well, even something as little as that, in theory, should change it, right? You'd think. It definitely changed, so I'm cool with that one. Oh, I guess this is also a thing. White minus black. And we'll also say helpers can be invoked by the command palette too. We'll flesh out what that actively means a little bit later. Color mod is the one that I'm more familiar with. Which is the thing I was trying to do previously. White blended with green, and you end up with a lighter green. Let's say Sublime color mod for use in color schemes and themes, I guess. Oh, hey, actually, that is an interesting turn of events. Adaptive theme. This is also the handy to be able to know what these colors are. It doesn't show it for variables though, which is a little funky. Yeah, so as a result, it can't necessarily tell us what those ones look like either. That's too bad, because that would be cool. Pardon me. You can enter two colors and get the difference. Oh yeah, palettes. Right. Let's play with that for a second. Not you. Don't have any favorite colors yet, but we can save the current color. Into a new palette, and we'll call it sample palette. And that panel is way too tall. And there we go. All right. So at any point, say we don't want this color. We want this color. Oh, that's nice. And that could be that could happen in the palette or here. Hey, or sorry, in the in a project or in a global, I should say. Whoops, pardon me. While you can manually save or delete colors from favorites, colors can also be quickly saved away or removed from the global favorites palette by starring or unstarring a color. Let's give that a jingle. Let's say this particular color, this greeny bit of action here. Oh, there we go. Let's favorite that, and then when we come to here, we go to palettes, favorites. Yeah, there's green. I want that green. It's my favorite green. That's I don't do a lot of this kind of work because I'm terrible at visually putting colors together, but totally totally cool. I definitely see myself wanting to use something like this for what use that I put to these things. Let's just say, what was that? If you use LSP and something similar to that. That. I think that's not a too bad of an Advanced Substation. Oh, the old ASS file. One package that comes with color previews out of the box is the ASS package. You can disable their color previews by modifying its settings. Okay. Some people prefer hex to be all uppercase and some may prefer lowercase. It outputs strings in lower. Okay. I think certain settings which are likely to be useful as per OS or per host will be configured to use multiconf. Multiconf is a library that will parse a setting as a normal setting or a per OS and or per host setting if configured properly. For the settings that have this enabled, you can optionally use the format below to specify the setting. Haha, so this goes directly into a question similar to the one that Citizen Townshend had previously in the stream, which is kind of interesting as these things go. Because there's just a way to set that specifically. I've never heard of multiconf previously. Now the same. Oh, that's cool. Rendering options. Be nice to see some samples of how those are different. Image border color previews. Previews can be positioned to the left or right of a color. I think I kind of prefer it to the left, but it's neat that that is a thing. So, whoa, whoa, whoa. Our chair arm is dangerous business. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Where did I specify this? Cover some of the more obvious settings, like preview. And color position. Not all need to be covered, I don't think. Selection is empty, and if the carriers at the start are within the, yeah, okay. If you wish to use your native color picker available with your OS, you can set this option to true. This will use the native color picker on Mac OS and Windows. If on Linux and you have KDE Color Chooser installed, KDE not required. Oh, there you go. And in your command line path, then it will be used. Okay. Different color picker options, different color palettes, global palette, stored in a palettes file. That's cool. Just take a look at that. User color helper dot palettes. There's the favorites, and there's the sample palette that I created with a color in it with quite the specific color values. And it's also possible to get it to store these inside of your project as well, which is actually pretty cool. Project palettes will be shown in the palette. And let's look at tools. This will make the color preview box in the color info panel clickable. When the preview box is clicked, it will open the specified tool. None color picker, palette picker, edit. What's the color info panel? Oh, that. Oh, let's see. So it's currently set to none by default. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that would be very handy then, wouldn't it? We quit and restarted, so now we gotta color helper. The option oh shoot, what was it called? Whoa. Oh, sorry, go back one. Click color box to pick. Click. Click the color box to pick color picker. So over here we clicked on that, and then clicking on this does nothing. But click on this, goes to the color picker. Okay, goes to the edit. Probably handier. Yeah. All right. I could dig that one. I could dig it. Color rules. The color rules option configures how Color Helper interacts with a given file. In order for Color Helper to inject color previews, translate colors, and various other tasks, it needs context and rules. Provide that context. So HTML, CSS, that's what we would see in the defaults over here, right? For the rules. Color rules, HTML, CSS, package dev. Oh, Sublime color schemes. Right. SAS, SCSS. Where to look for colors. That's fun. These will be appended to the normal color rules unless they share the same name. In that case, a shallow merge will be performed. Note that this, again, this does exactly the same thing as the other package we looked at tonight does. So, that is interesting. Well, this is definitely going to be a package that we do a video on in the future. There's a lot. These are the sorts of settings that I don't think we would put in an initial video for something like this, because there's a lot that you can do here, but it's not necessarily anything that is strictly required in order to get stuff up and running, as we've seen right here tonight, as a matter of fact. So we're gonna call the stream for there. Thanks so much everybody for showing up. We will be back, of course, next Monday as well. And I also stream on Wednesdays and Fridays on Twitch as well. There we'll be doing development work, still using Sublime. If you have questions, you want to stop by and say hi, ask a question, that is perfectly acceptable in all cases. We're going to continue on with our trend here in these streams, I think, in looking at packages and exploring them a little bit, where there's not already a question that somebody has, of course. This is the best way that I know to become familiar enough with a package to be able to talk about it and teach other people about why they might want to use it and what they can expect to get out of it. I hope to see you in another stream or in the next tutorial or maybe in one of the Twitch streams. Thanks so much, everybody, for stopping by. Please have a sublime week. And this is Odat Nerd saying that thing I just said. I probably said that in the wrong order. I'm clever like that. Have a good week, everybody.